For centuries, humans lived on a small blue planet that most of the galaxy barely noticed. Earth had always seemed harmless, almost invisible to the vast civilizations that stretched across the stars. From the Orion Trade Union to the countless empires and scattered worlds beyond, the word Earth barely existed in galactic records. Explorers who first approached the planet were curious, yes, but not impressed. They saw primitive cities, limited technology, and a species struggling with its own problems. To them, humans were tiny, weak, and unthreatening, a minor footnote in a galaxy teeming with powerful civilizations and ruthless conquerors. And humans liked it that way, at least on the surface. While the galaxy assumed that Earth's nations were divided and backward, humans were quietly learning, experimenting, and growing stronger. Governments competed openly in politics and trade, but behind closed doors they were building something no other civilization had expected. Unlike empires that flaunted their power, humans hid theirs, masking their progress beneath ordinary life. Space agencies, scientific research centers, and secret military programs worked in silence, developing technology that would one day make the galaxy rethink what harmless truly meant. Most alien observers saw only the obvious: ships that could barely leave the solar system, energy grids that could barely sustain a city, and armies armed with weapons considered outdated in galactic terms. Primitive, they said. Irrelevant. Humans were considered too small to worry about, too weak to respect, and too slow to evolve. Even the few alien scouts who briefly passed by Earth underestimated them completely. They assumed humans would remain confined to their planet for centuries more, perhaps never leaving it at all. But humans had a different idea. They had faced dangers before, not from alien empires but from themselves and their environment. Disease, war, natural disasters, and scarcity had forced humanity to become clever, resourceful, and adaptable. Every challenge taught them something new. Every failure pushed them closer to discovering solutions others might overlook. Humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but they had something that no empire could replicate: resilience. The galaxy might have called it harmlessness, but it was really preparation. While humans carried on with daily life, hidden facilities across the globe were quietly experimenting with energy systems that could harness more power than any human had ever imagined. Scientists tested engines that could bend gravity, satellites that could survive in extreme conditions, and materials stronger than steel, yet lighter than aluminum. Secret underground laboratories hummed with activity. Military strategists simulated battles against entire alien fleets, refining tactics and strategies. And while humans appeared distracted by ordinary politics and economics, the Terran Alliance, a coalition of Earth's most forward-thinking nations, was quietly planning a future where humanity would no longer be invisible. Even the young generation, those who played in parks and studied in schools, had unknowingly become part of this preparation. Their education emphasized problem-solving, creativity, and collaboration. Games and competitions encouraged strategy and teamwork. Communities practiced resilience in everyday life. These small, seemingly ordinary actions were shaping humans to survive and thrive in ways the galaxy could never predict. Alien observers dismissed it as coincidence or luck, never realizing it was intentional. Earth itself seemed ordinary to outsiders. Oceans covered most of its surface, forests and deserts stretched endlessly, and cities rose and fell as humans lived their daily lives. But beneath the surface, humans had constructed hidden networks of tunnels, research stations, and orbital platforms, all designed to support the moment when they would finally step into the wider galaxy. Humanity's growth was deliberate, slow, and invisible. While empires displayed their power openly, humans built theirs in secret, letting the galaxy underestimate them at every turn. Even communication technology played a role. Humans were mastering ways to send information instantly, developing secure networks and algorithms that could calculate probabilities faster than any alien mind could follow. Their progress was invisible, incremental, and patient. When alien scouts attempted to intercept signals, they found nothing unusual, just ordinary broadcasts, ordinary conversations, ordinary entertainment. No one suspected that behind those signals were calculations that could predict the movement of entire fleets, estimate the outcomes of interstellar conflicts, and prepare humans for scenarios they hadn't yet encountered. Despite this quiet growth, humans themselves sometimes questioned whether the galaxy would ever notice them. Generations had grown up believing that they were small in the cosmic scheme, that their planet was nothing more than a tiny blue dot lost in an infinite universe. Some humans dreamed of exploring the stars, but most accepted life on Earth as ordinary, unremarkable, and safe. Yet even in these ordinary moments, the seeds of greatness were taking root. Humans were learning patience, discipline, and the importance of unity, qualities that no alien empire could manufacture in a laboratory. When alien observers finally reported on Earth, their words were dismissive, almost mocking. Primitive world, harmless species, non-threatening. And humans allowed them to believe it. They carried on with ordinary life, laughed at alien reports, and continued to explore their planet with curiosity and determination. No one outside knew that beneath the surface, humans were preparing for a moment when they would step beyond their solar system and challenge the assumptions of every civilization that had ever dismissed them. Even nature seemed to aid humanity. Earth had a balance of resources that made life possible, and humans learned to use these resources cleverly. From wind and solar energy to the hidden potential of the planet's magnetic field, humans studied every natural phenomenon for clues on how to harness power. While other civilizations conquered worlds with brute force, humans learned to work with their environment, discovering efficiencies and techniques that seemed almost impossible to alien science. This harmony between human ingenuity and natural advantage would become a cornerstone of their future power. And yet humans were not perfect. They made mistakes, experienced failures, and sometimes even lost hope. Wars broke out, nations clashed, and disasters struck without warning. But each time humans adapted, rebuilt, and improved. Failure was not defeat. It was a teacher. While alien civilizations often relied on overwhelming power to control their subjects, humans relied on adaptability, intelligence, and creativity. This would later become the element that the galaxy never saw coming. By the time the first alien explorers approached again, humans were ready. They had learned patience and restraint, had developed energy systems beyond the understanding of alien science, and had built fleets capable of surviving in space longer than anyone expected. But they did not display this power. The galaxy still thought Earth was harmless. Humans smiled, nodded, and continued their ordinary lives, quietly testing and refining their technologies. The day would come when the galaxy would finally see the truth, and they would not just be surprised, and they would be unprepared. Even among themselves, humans sometimes spoke of the future in whispers, not arrogance but determination. One day they will see us, they said, and they will regret underestimating us. That statement, simple as it seemed, carried the weight of centuries of preparation, struggle, and resilience. Humans had learned to wait, to observe, and to act only when the moment was right. And that moment, though still unseen, was drawing closer with every passing day. This was Earth, seemingly harmless, ordinary, and unremarkable. But beneath its calm surface, humanity was growing, learning, and preparing. No one in the galaxy suspected what lay hidden behind ordinary cities, schools, and offices. Humans had mastered patience, science, and strategy. They had learned from their failures and discovered strength in their unity. And though alien empires laughed at their small blue planet, humanity was quietly preparing to reveal its true power, a power that would one day shock the galaxy and redefine what it meant to be human. For now, Earth remained harmless. Humans walked their streets, worked in their labs, and played in their parks. They were invisible to the galaxy, underestimated and overlooked. And that was exactly how they wanted it. Patience, preparation, and quiet determination were their greatest weapons. One day the galaxy would realize that harmlessness had been a mask, and when that day arrived, humans would no longer be ignored. Humans had grown quietly, steadily, and carefully. The galaxy still considered Earth harmless, but behind the surface, humans were awakening in ways no one could see. Over decades, secret programs and hidden research had transformed Earth into something far greater than outsiders could imagine. It wasn't just about technology, it was about unity, strategy, and preparation. While other civilizations displayed power openly, humans developed theirs in secret, layer by layer, so that when the time came, the galaxy would be completely unprepared. At the heart of this awakening was the creation of the Terran Alliance, a coalition of Earth's nations that had learned to put aside old rivalries for a common goal. The alliance was not born from conquest or fear, it was born from survival. Humans realized that their planet alone could not withstand the unknown dangers of the galaxy. To survive, they had to unite. And once united, they began to explore what was possible beyond their world. Human engineers and scientists studied energy systems the galaxy had never seen. They discovered ways to store and release power with incredible efficiency, creating engines capable of traveling vast distances faster than any known starship. They learned to manipulate gravity, to bend energy fields, and to design materials stronger than anything in alien records. Every experiment was a step forward, every failure a lesson. The galaxy might have laughed at humans, thinking them simple and unready, but humans were learning at a pace no one expected. By the time the first human fleet was ready, it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Ships moved silently, powered by energy systems that seemed to defy known physics. They could survive in extreme conditions, maneuver in ways alien pilots had never imagined, and strike with precision that was almost impossible to predict. Every vessel was the result of decades of secret research, hundreds of failures, and countless hours of human ingenuity. And yet they remained hidden. The galaxy still believed Earth to be harmless. Meanwhile, humans were not just building machines. They were building minds capable of using them. Training programs taught young adults advanced strategies for space navigation, combat simulations, and resource management. Schools incorporated problem-solving, teamwork, and adaptability into daily lessons. Games and competitions encouraged thinking beyond the obvious. Every human, knowingly or unknowingly, was becoming a part of this awakening, a thread in a vast tapestry that would one day reveal itself to the galaxy. And humans were patient. They did not rush into space to announce their arrival. They did not flaunt power. While other civilizations might launch fleets to display dominance, humans allowed themselves to grow quietly. Every mission, every experiment, and every advancement was carefully recorded and tested. They learned to observe alien movements from a distance, to study the strategies of the most powerful empires, and to discover weaknesses no one else had noticed. Patience became their greatest weapon, because when they finally acted, it would be decisive. The first human explorations beyond the solar system were cautious. Robotic probes mapped nearby star systems, and small unmanned vessels tested interstellar engines. The galaxy noticed little. These missions were so subtle that even nearby civilizations dismissed them as normal technological development. Yet each mission brought back data that would later allow humans to navigate and survive in parts of space no alien had fully explored. It was preparation hidden in plain sight. At the same time, humans had begun studying alien technology they had managed to capture over the years. Small scout ships, abandoned stations, and even pieces of alien wreckage provided clues about energy systems, shields, and weaponry. Humans were careful not to reverse engineer recklessly. Instead, they studied patterns, tested hypotheses, and improved upon alien designs in ways that even the original creators would not have imagined. These hidden discoveries were quietly transforming humans from a seemingly weak species into a civilization capable of facing empires head-on. Humans also learned the importance of adaptability. They knew that in the galaxy, brute strength often failed against clever strategy. They studied alien tactics, observing how fleets moved, how planets were defended, and how battles were won. Humans developed flexible strategies that could adapt to almost any situation. Every citizen was trained to think critically, to problem-solve under pressure, and to work in teams. The galaxy saw only ordinary humans, but they were, in fact, learning skills that could change the balance of power in space. Communication and intelligence became another focus. Humans mastered methods to transmit data securely and instantly across vast distances, outpacing many alien networks. They learned to predict movements, calculate probabilities, and make decisions faster than most civilizations could comprehend. Even when aliens intercepted transmissions, they only saw normal signals, conversations, entertainment, or scientific messages. No one suspected that behind those ordinary signals were calculations capable of predicting battles, avoiding ambushes, and managing fleets larger than any single nation on Earth had ever seen. While humans prepared technologically and strategically, they also maintained their humanity. Even as they learned advanced sciences and built incredible machines, they never lost sight of compassion, creativity, and resilience. Stories of human cooperation, problem-solving, and courage spread quietly among colonies and communities. Humans learned that power without purpose was meaningless and strength without wisdom was dangerous. Their preparation was not only about survival, but about becoming a civilization worth noticing for all the right reasons. The galaxy, of course, remained unaware. Explorers who passed near Earth reported ordinary cities, oceans, and forests. Some watched human broadcasts and found them charming but trivial. No one realized that behind the ordinary life was extraordinary preparation. Humans had mastered patience and observation, learning from every encounter, every failure, and every opportunity. And they waited, knowing that the right moment to reveal themselves would one day come. Humans also studied their own history, learning lessons from centuries of internal conflict. Wars, disputes, and disasters had taught them resilience, creativity, and resourcefulness. Unlike many galactic civilizations that relied on domination or fear, humans relied on intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. These lessons, passed down through generations, created a society capable of surprising any invader. The galaxy assumed that Earth was harmless because humans were small, disorganized, and technologically limited. In reality, humans had learned to turn every weakness into an advantage. By the time the first human fleet began to form, Earth was ready. Not only were the ships advanced beyond anything the galaxy had cataloged, but the people were ready too. They knew how to operate, maintain, and fight with their technology. They had trained for years in simulations and real-world exercises. Every officer, every engineer, and every pilot understood not just their role, but the bigger picture. They were a civilization that had learned patience, planning, and strategy. And still, humans waited. They could have revealed themselves, announced their presence, and demanded recognition. But they chose not to. Patience was part of their power. The galaxy assumed Earth was still weak, still harmless, still ordinary. This misjudgment would soon become their greatest advantage. In the meantime, humans continued to explore, discover, and learn. Robotic scouts traveled to nearby star systems, mapping unknown planets and gathering data. Scientists tested new energy systems and propulsion methods. Engineers experimented with shield designs and combat simulations. Every effort, large or small, contributed to the preparation for the day when humans would step fully into the galaxy. Humanity's quiet awakening was not without challenges. Resources were limited, failures were frequent, and not every plan worked. But humans had learned to turn setbacks into lessons. Every mistake was studied, analyzed, and used to improve the next attempt. Unlike empires that punished failure harshly, humans embraced it as part of learning. This flexibility and resilience would become critical when the galaxy finally noticed Earth. At last, the moment was approaching. Humans had prepared fleets, trained personnel, and mastered technology beyond the understanding of most galactic observers. They had become a civilization that could challenge assumptions, survive against stronger forces, and reveal power the galaxy never expected. But they would not rush. Every step, every move, and every calculation had been measured. And when the day came, the galaxy would finally see that Earth was far from harmless. It had been quietly awakening all along. The galaxy might have dismissed humans, assumed they were weak, and even mocked their planet. But humans had a plan, patience, and intelligence that no empire had accounted for. They were ready to step out of the shadows, not recklessly, but with precision, strategy, and a confidence built on decades of preparation. And when they did, the galaxy would realize, perhaps for the first time, that harmlessness had been a mask. Humanity had been quietly awakening, preparing, and learning to survive and thrive in a universe that had underestimated them completely. For now, humans continued their ordinary lives. Cities bustled, children played, scientists worked late nights, and fleets quietly assembled. To the outside world, it all seemed normal, even mundane, but behind the surface, the people of Earth were wacky. Even as humans quietly prepared, the galaxy continued to underestimate them. To distant civilizations, Earth was still a small, harmless planet, a blue dot spinning quietly in the Sol system. Reports about the planet were often vague, and most empires considered it irrelevant. Humans were ignored in galactic politics, their technology dismissed as primitive, and their society seen as ordinary. No one imagined that beneath this calm surface, an entire civilization was preparing to step into the galaxy with power and precision that would shock everyone. But the first signs of that power were about to be revealed. The Kavari Dominion, A powerful and aggressive empire that ruled dozens of star systems had been watching the outer edges of the Milky Way. They were known for conquering weaker civilizations and expanding their influence without mercy. When scouts detected the unusual energy signals coming from Earth, they assumed it was a minor experiment or a small anomaly. After all, the planet had never shown any threat. To them, humans were still harmless. Curiosity turned to arrogance. The Kavari Dominion decided to make an example of Earth, to demonstrate that no species could challenge their authority. They sent a fleet, confident it would intimidate the humans into submission. Hundreds of starships armed with weapons capable of obliterating planets moved toward the Sol system. Messages were sent to Earth, demanding surrender and the immediate cessation of all technological experiments. The Kavari leaders expected compliance, seeing humans as weak and inexperienced. Humans received these messages and studied the approaching fleet. For a moment, the world held its breath, but the Terran Alliance had prepared for exactly this scenario. Decades of research, simulations, and secret construction had led to this day. Humans did not panic, argue, or plead. They activated hidden defenses, deployed orbital platforms, and prepared their fleet. Ships that seemed small and ordinary from the outside now glowed with power, ready to respond to the threat. The first shots from the Kavari fleet were fired. Their weapons pierced through space with deadly precision, striking what they assumed were minor human satellites and defenses. But instead of destruction, they met resistance unlike anything they expected. Energy shields flared, absorbing the impact of the blasts. Automated defense systems launched countermeasures, and human fleets moved in coordinated formations that were impossible for the Kavari scouts to predict. Within minutes, the so-called harmless humans had repelled the initial attack. The galaxy, which had been watching from a distance, was stunned. Signals from observing empires recorded the event, showing human ships moving with a speed and precision that defied expectations. Weapons fired in patterns that seemed random but were calculated to maximize efficiency. Planet-side defense grids activated simultaneously with orbital platforms, creating a protective network that the Kavari fleet could not penetrate. The humans had transformed from an invisible species into a force that even the most powerful empire in the region struggled to understand. This first encounter revealed something crucial about humans: their unity. While many galactic civilizations relied on fear or strict hierarchy, humans relied on cooperation, quick thinking, and adaptability. Every officer, pilot, and engineer understood their role in the larger strategy. Commands were followed with precision, and decisions were made in real time based on evolving circumstances. The Kavari Dominion, used to rigid and predictable strategies, could not adapt fast enough to counter humans' approach. Even the humans on the ground were involved. Scientists monitored energy levels, engineers coordinated power distribution, and strategic leaders analyzed enemy patterns as they happened. No one acted alone. Every human contributed, whether in space, on Earth, or in research facilities. It was a demonstration of collective intelligence and coordination on a scale that the galaxy had rarely seen. The Kavari fleet, for all its size and firepower, was being outmaneuvered by a civilization that had once seemed harmless. Meanwhile, the galaxy's reaction grew louder. Observers sent transmissions to their empires, describing what they had witnessed. Impossible, they said. This small species has destroyed part of the Kavari fleet with only a fraction of their power. Analysts and strategists scrambled to understand humans, but data was scarce. Humans had kept their fleet hidden, their technology secret, and their strategies unrecorded. Even alien scientists could not replicate or predict human actions. What the galaxy had assumed to be harmlessness was actually patience, preparation, and hidden capability. The Kavari Dominion, realizing they had underestimated their target, tried to regroup. They brought in reinforcements, launched larger ships, and attempted more aggressive maneuvers. But humans were ready for each move. Advanced sensors detected the incoming attacks before they arrived. Shields were adjusted to counter the most dangerous weapons, and tactical maneuvers kept human forces safe, while putting the enemy at a disadvantage. Every action the Kavari fleet took was anticipated, and every attempt to break the human line was countered. Humans also used the element of surprise. The galaxy had assumed their technology was limited, but humans had learned to harness energy in ways no one else had. Weapons could fire with incredible precision, Defensive systems could absorb or redirect attacks, and ships could move in patterns that seemed impossible. For every attack from the Kavari fleet, humans had a response that neutralized it or turned it back against them. The concept of being harmless was quickly shattered. The first major battle lasted for hours, with both sides testing each other's limits. But humans did not fight recklessly. They acted with strategy and patience. Their goal was not mindless destruction, but to defend their home and demonstrate that they could not be easily subdued. By the end of the battle, the Kavari Dominion had lost more ships than they had expected, and the humans had suffered minimal damage. The result was a shockwave across the galaxy. Reports called it a miracle, an impossible victory, and some even began to fear the potential of this hidden species. It was not just military power that stunned observers, it was intelligence, adaptability, and resilience. Humans learned from every attack, adapted in real time, and found creative ways to counter threats that no one had anticipated. Other civilizations had relied on sheer numbers and overwhelming firepower, but humans relied on thinking, problem-solving, and teamwork. Even the smallest human ship could outmaneuver larger vessels because its operators thought differently, acted quickly, and used resources wisely. The people of Earth watched the battle unfold with determination rather than fear. They understood that this moment was long in preparation. Generations had worked in secret, developing technology, training fleets, and studying strategy. Finally, the galaxy would see what humans had been building all along. Families waited, scientists monitored, and leaders coordinated every aspect of the response. Humanity's calm in the face of such a threat became part of the demonstration. The galaxy had never seen a species so focused, composed, and united. By the time the Kavari fleet retreated, it was clear that Earth had changed the balance of power. Observers across the galaxy were sending messages, trying to understand how a planet so small and seemingly weak could repel one of the most powerful empires in the region. Analysts reviewed every detail, but humans had thought of everything. Their tactics, technology, and coordination left no openings for easy analysis. The galaxy's assumption that Earth was harmless had been destroyed in a single encounter. Even after the battle, humans continued to observe the Kavari Dominion. They did not celebrate recklessly, but they understood the importance of readiness. The galaxy had now noticed them, and humans knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge was not proving they could fight, but showing that they could survive, adapt, and thrive in a universe that had long dismissed them. Every action from this point forward would need the same precision, planning, and intelligence that had already made history. This battle was more than a fight. It was a revelation. Humans had shown the galaxy that being underestimated could be a strength. Their power was not just in weapons or ships, but in strategy, cooperation, and resilience. They had taken what was once called harmlessness and transformed it into a shield, a tool, and a warning. The galaxy, which had ignored them for so long, would never make that mistake again. From that day on, humans became a topic of curiosity, caution, and fear. Messages traveled faster than light, spreading the story of Earth's unexpected power. Other civilizations began to reconsider their assumptions, analyze the hidden strengths of human society, and prepare for interactions that would no longer be simple. The age of harmlessness was over. Earth had awakened, and the galaxy could no longer ignore it. And yet humans remained focused. They did not seek conquest for glory or revenge. Their goal was survival, preparation, and the protection of their world. They had learned that power without purpose was meaningless. As observers marveled at their fleets and tactics, humans quietly continued their work, improving systems, training personnel, and preparing for whatever came next. They were no longer harmless. They were a civilization awakening, ready to step fully into the galaxy, and determined to ensure that when the world saw them, it would remember. The galaxy had been watching from a distance, still curious but skeptical, and now it could no longer ignore what had happened. Humans, once considered harmless, had proven they were capable of defeating a fleet from the powerful Kavari Dominion. The footage of the battle, captured by distant observation stations and scout ships, spread across star systems. Analysts, scholars, and leaders across multiple empires replayed it over and over, unable to believe what they were seeing. Ordinary humans in relatively small ships had outsmarted a civilization known for crushing entire worlds. Across the galaxy, there was shock and disbelief. Many dismissed the reports at first, thinking it must be propaganda or a misinterpretation. But as more evidence arrived, the truth became undeniable. Humans were not only capable of defending themselves, they were capable of extraordinary strategy, resilience, and technology beyond what anyone had imagined. Empires that had once considered Earth insignificant now began to take notice, reevaluating old records and asking uncomfortable questions. How had a planet so small, so seemingly backward, hidden such power? The Kavari Dominion, humiliated and enraged, struggled to understand how they had been outmaneuvered. Their previous victories over other civilizations had relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. They had never faced a species that could respond so quickly, adapt so efficiently, and coordinate with such precision. Their fleet, which had been confident in its superiority, was now retreating in confusion, leaving behind debris, wreckage, and shattered pride. The galaxy saw a powerful empire humbled by a species it had long ignored. At the same time, other civilizations began sending scouts and diplomats toward Earth, some seeking alliances, others attempting reconnaissance. They hoped to understand what humans had and how they had achieved such sudden power. Every ship, every transmission, and every observation was met with careful strategy. Humans did not panic, nor did they attack without reason. They remained calm, organized, and prepared, revealing only as much as necessary. To the galaxy, it was clear. Humans were no longer harmless, and they were beginning to set the rules for how interactions with them would occur. Meanwhile, the Terran Alliance worked to strengthen its defenses and communications. They knew that the galaxy's attention was now fixed on them, and they needed to ensure that Earth remained safe while preparing for future challenges. Scientists monitored energy systems, engineers maintained ships, and strategists analyzed the movements of other civilizations. The human approach combined careful preparation with the ability to act decisively when needed. This combination of patience and strength was something no empire could easily counter. The galaxy's perception of humans shifted dramatically. No longer were they seen as primitive or weak. Now they were seen as a civilization to be respected or feared. Across the stars, empires revised their strategies. Military analysts studied Earth's fleet movements, trying to understand their speed, precision, and energy patterns. Scholars debated how humans could have achieved such capabilities with what appeared to be limited resources. Strategists warned their leaders not to underestimate Earth, noting that even a single human fleet could disrupt established power balances. Humans, however, did not let this attention distract them. They continued their work quietly, expanding exploration beyond the solar system and improving technology. The galaxy may have been watching, but humans were not acting out of arrogance or desire for conquest. Every step was calculated, every improvement tested, and every fleet deployment strategic. They understood that power without wisdom could lead to destruction, and they did not wish to repeat the mistakes of other civilizations that had fallen because of pride or haste. Some civilizations tried to test humans, sending small fleets near Earth's borders or attempting to provoke them with messages and minor skirmishes. Each time, humans responded with careful precision. They used their advanced sensors to detect threats, their strategic planning to counter moves, and their ability to adapt to neutralize challenges without unnecessary escalation. Every encounter reinforced the idea that humans were organized, disciplined, and capable of defending themselves, while teaching the galaxy that reckless aggression was unwise. The shock of human capability was not limited to military power. Humans had demonstrated intelligence, innovation, and adaptability that exceeded expectations. They were able to predict enemy movements, coordinate multiple systems simultaneously, and act as a unified force despite their diverse backgrounds and histories. The galaxy watched as humans seamlessly combined science, strategy, and coordination in ways that seemed almost impossible. Observers noted that humans had mastered patience, preparation, and rapid adaptation, a combination that no empire had previously mastered. Even within Earth, people were aware of the galaxy's growing attention. Leaders emphasized caution and wisdom, instructing scientists, pilots, and civilians to continue their work without revealing unnecessary information. While humans could have shown their full capabilities immediately, they understood that the galaxy needed to see restraint as well as power. This measured approach reinforced humanity's reputation as a species that could not be easily intimidated or predicted. News of humanity's power spread quickly, not just to governments but across populations on distant planets. Civilians, scholars, and explorers debated what Earth might be capable of. Some feared humans, believing them to be a potential threat to galactic stability. Others saw humans as a beacon of ingenuity and resilience, a species that could inspire change or offer alliances. The story of the small planet that had defeated part of the Kavari Dominion fleet captured imaginations across systems, sparking both caution and curiosity. While humans continued their quiet work, they also began reaching out diplomatically, carefully sending envoys and messages to civilizations willing to engage peacefully. They offered knowledge, trade, and mutual cooperation, demonstrating that their power was not solely for domination. The galaxy learned quickly that humans combined strength with strategy, intelligence with cooperation, and defense with a willingness to build alliances. This combination was rare and remarkable, and it further solidified the idea that Earth had transformed from harmless to formidable. The Kavari Dominion, humiliated by their earlier defeat, attempted to regain credibility. They regrouped and sent larger fleets to human-controlled areas, hoping to intimidate or provoke humans into mistakes. Yet humans, now fully aware of their capabilities, countered every move. Using advanced sensors, rapid response tactics, and calculated strategies, humans turned every attack into an opportunity. The Dominion fleet, once confident and powerful, was repeatedly outmaneuvered and neutralized. The galaxy watched in awe as humans combined intelligence, technology, and adaptability to reshape the balance of power. Humans' approach to the galaxy was measured, never reckless. They did not seek to destroy civilizations unnecessarily or to dominate for the sake of pride. Instead, they acted strategically, defending their home, showcasing their capabilities when necessary, and demonstrating that preparation and patience were as important as firepower. The galaxy quickly realized that humans were unlike any other species it had encountered, resourceful, disciplined, and united, with a willingness to act decisively when needed. Observers began to share lessons learned from humans with other civilizations. Analysts noted that humans had demonstrated not only technological skill, but also advanced problem-solving, adaptability, and teamwork. They had taken ordinary resources and transformed them into extraordinary systems, combining science, strategy, and unity. Even the most powerful empires had difficulty predicting human actions, making the small planet one of the most intriguing and potentially dangerous forces in the galaxy. Humanity's rise was both inspiring and alarming. To distant civilizations, it became clear that assumptions of weakness could no longer be trusted. Harmlessness had been a mask, a way to develop, learn, and prepare for the moment when humans would step fully into the galaxy. The power displayed was not random. It was deliberate, disciplined, and carefully honed. The galaxy began to understand that humans had been quietly preparing for decades, turning patience and intelligence into the most formidable tools of all. In the aftermath, humans did not celebrate recklessly. They strengthened defenses, improved technology, and continued training fleets. Their goal was not conquest, but preparedness, ensuring that their planet, their people, and their values could survive in a galaxy that had underestimated them for centuries. Earth had awakened, but humans understood the responsibility that came with power. They acted not out of arrogance, but out of foresight, caution, and the knowledge that true strength came from intelligence, unity, and resilience. By the end of this period, the galaxy's perception of humans had irrevocably changed. From being considered weak, harmless, and irrelevant, humans had become respected, feared, and admired. Empires rethought their strategies. Scholars debated human potential, and explorers approached cautiously. Humanity had revealed just enough power to command attention, but kept its full strength hidden, maintaining the advantage of surprise. The message was clear. Earth was no longer harmless, and the galaxy would never underestimate it again. Even as attention grew, humans remained focused on TI. The Kavari Dominion, humiliated and enraged from their previous defeat, refused to accept that humans could challenge them. Their pride had been wounded, and their fleets, though battered, were still formidable. The leaders decided that only a massive retaliation could restore their dominance and demonstrate that humans were still beneath them. They gathered hundreds of warships from across their territories, forming a fleet larger and more heavily armed than any that had approached Earth before. This time, they believed, there would be no room for mistakes. But humans were ready. The Terran Alliance had anticipated such a move for years. They had prepared not just for small skirmishes but for full-scale invasions. Earth's defenses had been expanded far beyond what alien observers could imagine. Hidden orbital platforms, advanced energy shields, and fleets of ships capable of both defense and rapid offensive strikes stood ready. Every system was interconnected, allowing humans to act as one coordinated force across multiple fronts. The moment of truth had arrived. The Kavari fleet entered Sol system space with confidence, expecting an easy victory. Their ships glimmered, with overwhelming firepower, and their pilots had been trained for years to destroy weaker civilizations without mercy. Messages were broadcast demanding immediate surrender. The Dominion assumed that the humans, faced with such a force, would panic, falter, or submit. They had underestimated humanity before, and they were about to make the same mistake again. As the first wave of attacks began, the humans did not panic. The orbital platforms activated first, deploying shields and redirecting incoming fire with precision. Energy beams flared, absorbing the attacks of the Dominion ships. Automated defense. Drones launched countermeasures, disabling weapons and engines with incredible efficiency. Humans on the ground monitored every detail, adjusting shields, coordinating fleet movements, and ensuring that every action complemented the larger strategy. Then the human fleet moved. Ships that had appeared small and ordinary now demonstrated extraordinary capabilities. They maneuvered in formations that defied conventional tactics, striking at vulnerable points while maintaining a defensive posture. Energy weapons fired with calculated precision, disabling key systems on enemy ships without causing unnecessary destruction. Every move was deliberate, every action a part of a grand plan that the Kavari Dominion could not anticipate. The Dominion fleet struggled to adapt. Their previous encounters had taught them that overwhelming force worked against weaker opponents, but humans were not predictable. Every strategy they attempted was countered with intelligence, speed, and adaptability. Ships that had been trained for decades to follow orders found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who could think independently and coordinate as a unified force. The balance of power was shifting with every passing hour. Humans were not fighting recklessly. They had learned that patience and strategy could be more powerful than brute force. While the Kavari Dominion unleashed waves of attacks, humans analyzed. Every movement adapted their tactics in real time and struck with efficiency that seemed almost impossible. Small groups of ships could disable entire squadrons, orbital platforms could redirect energy to protect entire regions, and hidden weapons could strike from angles no one expected. The galaxy, observing from a distance, watched in astonishment. Even the civilians of Earth played a part in this defense. Communication networks relayed updates to engineers, scientists, and operators across the planet. Factories produced essential supplies and energy units. Researchers monitored energy, grids, and weapon systems, ensuring that every component functioned at peak efficiency. Humanity's strength was not just in technology or strategy. It was in coordination, cooperation, and resilience. Every person contributed, whether directly or indirectly, to the defense of their home. The Kavari Dominion began to realize the scale of the mistake they had made. Their largest ships were being disabled, key officers eliminated, and their formations disrupted. What they had assumed would be a quick victory turned into a nightmare. The humans were not just defending, they were reshaping the battlefield. With every move, they demonstrated intelligence, adaptability, and unity. The galaxy, once certain that Earth was harmless, was witnessing the rise of a civilization that could challenge even the most powerful empires. Humans also used their knowledge of energy systems to their advantage. Advanced shields absorbed and redirected attacks, while propulsion systems allowed ships to move unpredictably and strike at points that seemed unreachable. Weapon systems fired with precision, targeting engines, shields, or command centers to neutralize threats without unnecessary destruction. Every action was calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing risk, a reflection of the discipline and intelligence that defined humanity. The Dominion fleet tried new tactics, sending hidden squadrons and attempting flanking maneuvers. But humans had anticipated these possibilities. Sensors detected every movement, fleets repositioned instantly, and counterattacks neutralized threats before they could become dangerous. The Dominion realized that humans had not only prepared for this battle, but had also learned from every previous encounter, turning every previous victory and defeat into knowledge that gave them the upper hand. Despite the chaos of battle, humans remained calm. They did not panic, and they did not give in to fear or anger. Their leaders coordinated from command centers, analyzing data, issuing instructions, and ensuring that every decision was informed by strategy and foresight. The human approach combined intelligence, discipline, and adaptability, creating a force that the Dominion could not break. Every wave of attack was met with a calculated response, demonstrating that humans had mastered the art of war on a scale the galaxy had never seen. The battle continued for days. The Dominion fleet, despite its size and firepower, could not gain a decisive advantage. Ships were disabled, formations disrupted, and morale began to falter. Observers across the galaxy, watching the conflict, realized that humans were no longer just defending, they were controlling the battlefield. The small, seemingly harmless species had become a dominant force, capable of protecting their home while inflicting significant losses on one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Humans also demonstrated creativity in their tactics. They used environmental features, gravitational fields, and spatial anomalies to their advantage, creating traps and ambushes that neutralized large groups of enemy ships. Every maneuver was calculated, every movement intentional. The Dominion fleet found themselves in situations that were impossible to predict, forced to react rather than act, and ultimately unable to gain control. The humans' patience, intelligence, and preparation had turned the tide decisively. By the end of the battle, the Kavari Dominion had suffered devastating losses. Hundreds of ships were destroyed or disabled, key officers eliminated, and their forces scattered. The humans, despite facing a larger and heavily armed fleet, had achieved victory with minimal casualties. The galaxy, observing this unprecedented event, was stunned. A civilization once considered harmless had now demonstrated the ability to defeat one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy through strategy, intelligence, and unity. This victory marked a turning point. Humanity had not only defended Earth but had reshaped the perception of their species across the galaxy. No longer could they be dismissed or underestimated. The Kavari Dominion, once arrogant and confident, had been humbled. Other civilizations began to approach Earth with caution, respect, and curiosity. Humanity had proven that preparation, intelligence, and cooperation could surpass sheer numbers and firepower, and the galaxy began to take notice. Even after the battle, humans continued to strengthen their defenses. They repaired damaged ships, upgraded weapon systems, and trained fleets for future engagements. They did not celebrate recklessly, nor did they seek vengeance. Instead, they focused on ensuring that Earth remained safe and prepared for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. This disciplined approach, combined with their extraordinary capabilities, further reinforced the idea that humans were a species unlike any other. Observers from across the galaxy began to study humans more closely. Scholars analyzed their tactics, engineers examined their technology, and diplomats attempted to understand their motivations. Humanity had demonstrated that they could combine intelligence, adaptability, and unity in ways that other civilizations had rarely achieved. Their rise was not sudden or reckless. It was deliberate, calculated, and rooted in decades of preparation, learning, and growth. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Underestimating humans was dangerous. What had once been considered a harmless species had become a force capable of shaping galactic events. Their victory over the Kavari Dominion was not just a demonstration of power, it was a warning. The age of harmlessness was over. Earth had awakened, and humanity had proven that it could defend itself, adapt to challenges, and emerge victorious against overwhelming odds. Humans, however, remained focused on their core values. They did not seek domination or conquest for its own sake. Their goal was protection, exploration, and preparedness. They had learned that true strength came not from fear or aggression, but from intelligence, cooperation, and unity. This approach set them apart from other civilizations and Ensu. After the decisive victories over the Kavari Dominion, the galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. Word of Earth's strength, strategy, and resilience spread rapidly across star systems. Reports reached empires, colonies, and neutral observers alike. The species that had been dismissed as harmless had proven it could defend itself and dominate the battlefield with intelligence, coordination, and innovation. Humans were no longer on the sidelines. They were now players whose actions would shape the galaxy's future. Humanity, however, did not respond with arrogance. They had fought not for glory or revenge, but to protect their home and demonstrate that their species could survive and thrive even against overwhelming odds. Leaders emphasized that power must be paired with responsibility. Every step forward, every expansion into new regions of space was measured and deliberate. While other civilizations had often let ambition cloud their judgment, humans had learned the value of patience, wisdom, and unity. Across the galaxy, reactions varied. Some civilizations approached Earth seeking alliances, hoping to learn from humans and benefit from their technological advancements. Traders, scientists, and diplomats reached out cautiously, offering cooperation and exchange. Others, however, were wary. They saw the rise of humanity as a threat to the balance of power, a species that had been underestimated for centuries and now demonstrated unprecedented capability. Military planners revised strategies, fleets were repositioned, and governments debated whether to contain, confront, or ally with the humans. Humans navigated these reactions carefully. They responded with intelligence and transparency, where it was beneficial, and discretion where caution was required. They did not seek to dominate or intimidate, but they made it clear that Earth would not be an easy target. Humanity's victories had already proven this. Even as the galaxy adjusted to the reality of Earth's power, humans continued to expand their knowledge, refine their technology, and strengthen their fleets. Every decision was informed by decades of preparation and understanding of the wider universe. The transformation of humanity's role in the galaxy was remarkable. Once a species considered inconsequential, humans were now recognized as a force that demanded respect. Their victories had demonstrated that unity, adaptability, and intelligence could overcome even the most powerful opponents. Other civilizations began to study human methods, hoping to learn how a seemingly small and simple species had achieved such extraordinary results. Analysts noted that humans did not rely on raw strength alone. They relied on strategy, foresight, and cooperation, making them unpredictable and effective. Meanwhile, Earth itself underwent changes. The planet became a hub of innovation, research, and strategic planning. Scientists and engineers worked together to further improve fleet technology, energy systems, and defensive capabilities. Training programs for new generations emphasized critical thinking, problem-solving, and teamwork. Every individual, whether working in orbit on research stations or on the planet's surface, understood that humanity's survival depended on intelligence as much as technology. This collective effort reinforced the strength and unity that had made humanity so formidable. Humanity's influence began to extend beyond defense. Exploratory missions mapped distant star systems, discovered new planets suitable for colonization, and established communication with previously unknown civilizations. These missions were conducted carefully, demonstrating humanity's respect for the galaxy and its inhabitants. Humans were not conquerors. They were explorers, protectors, and learners. Yet at the same time, their presence reminded the galaxy that Earth's civilization was capable of defending itself and shaping events across star systems. The galaxy's perception of humans shifted permanently. What had once been a species to ignore became a civilization to observe, respect, and sometimes fear. Stories of human victories spread far and wide, inspiring awe and caution alike. Strategists and scholars debated the implications of humanity's rise, trying to understand how a single planet had produced such remarkable coordination, innovation, and adaptability. Even the most powerful empires realized that previous assumptions about humans were not only wrong, they had underestimated a species capable of altering the balance of power in the galaxy. Humans, however, remained grounded. They celebrated their victories quietly and focused on continued preparation. They knew that the galaxy was vast, filled with unknown civilizations, threats, and opportunities. Every fleet deployment, research breakthrough, and diplomatic engagement was part of a larger vision, ensuring that humanity could survive and thrive while maintaining its values and integrity. Unlike other civilizations that had grown arrogant from early victories, humans understood that power without wisdom could be dangerous, and they were determined to avoid repeating the mistakes of others. Humanity's victories also sent a message to potential aggressors. Any civilization that underestimated humans would face not only technological and strategic resistance, but also a species capable of rapid adaptation and coordinated response. The galaxy had learned that humans combined intelligence, resilience, and creativity in ways that were nearly impossible to predict. Even advanced empires could not rely solely on firepower or intimidation. The humans had demonstrated that preparation, unity, and adaptability could turn the tide against overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, humans continued to develop interstellar alliances cautiously but deliberately. They offered cooperation to civilizations willing to work together, sharing knowledge, resources, and research where it benefited mutual interests. At the same time, they maintained strategic caution, ensuring that Earth and its colonies remained safe from potential threats. This approach balanced power with diplomacy, demonstrating that humans were capable not only of defense and combat, but also of negotiation, collaboration, and long-term planning. Across the galaxy, empires took note of this unique combination. Some began seeking guidance from humans on strategy, resource management, and fleet coordination. Others watched from a distance, wary of the growing influence of a species that had once been dismissed entirely. The galaxy began to recognize that humans had not only survived, they had transformed. Their rise was not sudden or reckless. It was deliberate, calculated, and rooted in decades of preparation, observation, and learning. The humans' ability to combine technology, strategy, and unity was now legendary. Their fleets could strike with precision, defend with resilience, and adapt in ways that no other species had mastered. Their energy systems and shields surpassed previous limits, and their ability to coordinate across planets and star systems made them a truly unified civilization. The galaxy realized that humans were not just another species. They were a force capable of influencing events on a scale few had anticipated. Even as humans expanded their presence, they maintained the core values that had allowed them to succeed. They respected life, sought cooperation, and avoided unnecessary conflict. Their victories were not for domination. They were for survival, preparation, and the protection of their civilization. This balance of power and principle distinguished humanity from other species, making them a civilization that others could respect and, when necessary, fear. The galaxy's reaction to humanity's rise was multifaceted. Diplomats approached cautiously. Strategists analyzed every human maneuver, and scholars debated their capabilities and methods. Some empires sought alliances, recognizing that cooperation with humans could be mutually beneficial. Others remained wary, understanding that underestimating humans could lead to disaster. Across star systems, humanity's victories and capabilities reshaped political dynamics, strategic planning, and interstellar relations. Within Earth, humans remained united. They continued to improve technology, train personnel, and strengthen defenses. Education focused on critical thinking, adaptability, and cooperation. Every citizen understood the importance of intelligence and preparation. The victories over the Kavari Dominion and other potential threats had demonstrated humanity's strength, but humans knew that true survival required continued vigilance, learning, and growth. Humanity's journey also inspired hope across the galaxy. Other civilizations, especially smaller or developing species, saw that intelligence, cooperation, and preparation could overcome challenges that seemed insurmountable. Humans had proven that even a species once considered harmless could rise to prominence through discipline, patience, and ingenuity. Their story became a model of resilience, strategy, and thoughtful use of power. As humans looked toward the future, they understood the responsibility that came with their strength. They were no longer a species that could be ignored, but they were also not a species that sought domination. Their influence would grow through example, cooperation, and strategic planning. The galaxy had witnessed their rise, and the age of underestimation was over. Humanity had awakened, and its future was now intertwined with the fate of countless star systems. By the end of this period, humans had not only proven their power, they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of intelligence, strategy, and unity. The species once deemed harmless had emerged as a force capable of influencing events on a galactic scale. The galaxy watched, learned, and adjusted, realizing that Earth's civilization had combined patience, preparation, and eye.